Hi, this is Dave, and this is a video tutorial of my private collection. This is a painting called Smeared Cadmium, Iridescent Smeared Cadmium, and it's cadmium pigments, orange, red, and yellow, which are a very high chroma and high value, chroma being intensity and value being the lightness of the color. And it's mixed with an iridescent medium. As you can see, it's iridescent. A medium is the suspension that a paint comes in, a pigment comes in. So if you have a paint, it'll have medium and suspension with pigment in it, and a medium is just the suspension. And the iridescent is a medium, and the pigment is the cadmium. Here's another painting with copper in it, and it's done with a squeegee. It's squeegeed alizarin crimson and cadmium pigments with copper. As you can see the copper there. It's 36 by 48. Here's a couple of portraits I did. I'm not much of a photographer, but that's my fiance on her 50th birthday, and a portrait of myself. Here's another photograph of me, quite large. It's 18 by 24. Of me in the army when I was a young little guy there. I must have been maybe 23 years old when that was taken. Maybe 22. Here's a couple of a pair of self-portraits that I just finished. They match because they're mixed from the same palette. So the Windsor blue in the background is mixed with black, and there's a shirt that is permanent magenta, and they are low chroma and low value, and the face is burnt sienna mixed with white, so it has a bright intensity as it sits against the dark colors. Here's another painting with cadmium. It's some peppers. And you can see the yellow, orange, and red are cadmium. And the foreground is a low chroma cadmium with some phthalo blue in the background. And some shadow and some light. I did this from life. And I had the light and the shadow going the same direction. The diagonals kind of create interest, and this painting is 20 inches by 24 inches, and there's some sap green in there. And I always sign my paintings with white, or I try to. As you can see, you don't want to sign your paintings with black unless they're a dark painting. Otherwise you'll just ruin the painting because it'll stand out. You can also sign your paintings with the lowest value of the color in the painting, or the highest value of the color in the painting. So that would be a little raw umber and white in that signature. Here's some photographs I took last year. This is downtown Chilliwack at night from my fiance's driveway up in Promontory in Chilliwack. Here's a portrait of my granddaughter with a quail on her shoulder. Here's my backyard with a fence and a lamppost and snow and trees and the sun shining through. And here's the house I live in. Here's an orchid I did with some ultramarine in the background. And yeah, just some yellow ochre in a table, and ultramarine in a pot, and hooker's green in the flowers, and a mixture of cadmium and ultramarine for the flowers themselves. That's 24 by 36, and it's signed with white. And in this painting, I've used a complex frame. For realism, you want to use a complex frame, whereas in an abstract painting, you would want to use a simple box frame. See that frame there? It's just a simple square. This is a textured painting, and in a textured painting, you only want to use a couple textures. So I have kind of like a non-slip mat in there with some burlap and some burnt umber, some yellow ochre, some cadmium yellow, and some iridescent medium to give it a shine. See the iridescence there? Kind of sparkles. If you were to take that out in the sun and look at it, it would blind you. Here's a series of 3 paintings that I did. 3 still lifes. They're all painted from life. What I did was I spray painted the inside of a box black, and I set up the details inside the box. This is a still life with a cross. And then I painted them. Some sunflowers, a tequila bottle, a watch, a chalice, and a cross. And the tablecloth is actually plaid, and I signed that with the lowest or the highest value raw umber in the painting. Here's a painter's still life. With some tools that you would use to paint with, and some tubes of paint, some brushes and a pencil. And here's a still life with a clock and some orchid, some sunflowers, some vase, a Bible, a shaker, and a bracelet. The only thing that doesn't match about these 3 paintings are the tablecloths. I had to give them some form of individuality so that they would look different. But otherwise, they're painted from the same palette, and the colors match. It's kind of a challenge to paint 3 paintings at once, and that's why I do it. See, if you don't challenge yourself, you don't grow as an artist. Here's another painting. This is called a smeared noton, and in a noton, each neutral shape is supposed to advance off the frame of the painting. I've got some silver medium in that, using silver as a neutral, and some black and white pigment, and some gray is painted on a gray background. And the gray and the silver are just about the same value, so they occupy the neutral shape of gray, but together. As you can see, there's silver in there. Yeah. And here's another noton. And this pretty much explains what a noton is supposed to be like. Each individual shape, the white, the gray, and the black, advance off the surface of the painting. And that's what a noton is about. Spelled backwards is N-O-T-O-N. Spelled forward is N-O-T-O-N. So that's a noton. Anyway, have a nice day.